Hey guys, this is Amit and you are watching Tech Dad. In this video, we are going to compare between Poco X3 Pro versus Realme X50 Pro 5G. And we will discuss which one is better in camera, performance, display, body of the devices, features, communication chips and about the prices. And in the end of the video, I will tell you which one is better according to me. So watch this video till the end. So without wasting any time, let's start the video. Let the comparison start with the camera of the devices. Talking about the rear camera of the devices, X3 Pro have quad camera setup, 48 megapixel of wide camera, 8 megapixel of ultra wide camera, 2 megapixel of macro camera and 2 megapixel of depth sensor. Whereas X50 Pro comes with quad camera setup, 64 megapixel of wide camera, 8 megapixel of ultra wide camera, 12 megapixel of telephoto camera and 2 megapixel of macro camera. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have 64 megapixel of sensor and telephoto camera. And about the front camera of the devices, X3 Pro have 20 megapixel of wide camera and X50 Pro have dual camera setup, 32 megapixel of wide camera and 8 megapixel of ultra wide camera. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have dual camera setup at the front of the device, which can take low noisy photos in low light condition. Let's talk about the camera features of the devices. X3 Pro have dual LED flash, HDR and panorama, whereas X50 Pro have LED flash, HDR and panorama. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have dual LED flash. And about the video recording options in the devices, X3 Pro can shoot 4K video max at 30fps and Full HD video max at 240fps with gyro electronic image stabilization. And X50 Pro can shoot 4K video max at 30fps, Full HD video max at 60fps with gyro electronic image stabilization. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it can record in high fps. Moving to the performance of the devices, let's start with the operating system of the devices. X3 Pro have Android 11 support. On the other side, X50 Pro have Android 11 support too. So I will call it a tie here. And about the user interface of the devices, X3 Pro have MIUI specially designed for Poco, whereas X50 have Realme UI. So I will call it a tie here because both of the devices have different UI. So it's up to you which UI you like it or not, it's up to you. Let's talk about the processor of the devices. X3 Pro is powered by Snapdragon 860 based on 7nm processor, whereas X50 Pro is powered by Snapdragon 865 based on 7nm processor. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have faster processing speed. And about the GPU of the devices, X3 Pro is packed with Adreno 640 whereas X50 Pro is packed with Adreno 650. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it can give you more FPS in games. Let's talk about the clock speed of the devices. X3 Pro can clock at 2.96 GHz based on octa-core Creo chipset, whereas X50 Pro can clock at 2.84 GHz based on octa-core Creo chipset. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have higher clock speed. And about the RAM variants in the devices, X3 Pro comes with 2 RAM variants, 6 and 8 GB of RAM variants, whereas X50 Pro have 3 variants, 6, 8 and 12 GB of RAM variants. Whereas X50 Pro have 3 variants, 6, 8 and 12 GB of RAM variant. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have high capacity of RAM. Let's talk about the internal storage of the devices. X3 Pro comes with 2 storage options, 128 and 256 GB, whereas X50 Pro also comes with 2 storage options, 128 and 256 GB of storage. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have faster read and write speed. And about the external storage of the devices, X3 Pro have external card slot option, but it uses shared SIM slot, whereas X50 did not have any. So the winner here is X3 Pro. Moving to the display features of the devices, let's start with the display size of the devices. X3 Pro have 6.67 inches of display, whereas X50 Pro also have 6.44 inches of display. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have bigger display size. And about the screen to body ratio of the devices, X3 Pro have approx 84.6%, whereas X50 Pro have 84.9%. So I will call it a tie because both of the devices have approx the same ratio. Let's talk about the screen resolution of the devices. X3 Pro comes with Full HD Plus display, whereas X50 Pro also have Full HD Plus display. So I will call it a tie. And about the display type of the devices, X3 Pro have IPS LCD display having 120Hz of refresh rate with HDR10 support, whereas X50 have Super AMOLED display having 90Hz of refresh rate with HDR10 support. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have HDR10 Plus which can produce vibrant colors, and it also have Super AMOLED display which can produce more darker black. Moving to the body features of the devices, let's start with the thickness of the devices. X3 Pro have 9.4 mm of thickness, whereas X50 Pro have 8.9 mm of thickness. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have slimmer body design. Talking about the weight of the devices, X3 Pro comes with 215 grams of weight, whereas X50 Pro have 205 grams of weight. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have lighter body weight. And about the protective glass of the devices, X3 Pro have Gorilla Glass 6 whereas X50 Pro have Gorilla Glass 5. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have newer generation of glass which is more durable than its older generation. Let's talk about the build quality of the devices. X3 Pro have glass back with plastic frame whereas X50 Pro have glass back with aluminum frame. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have solid build quality. And about the SIM options in the devices, both of the devices have dual nano SIM support, so it's a tie. Moving to some of the most important features of the devices, let's start with the fingerprint scanner of the devices. X3 Pro have side mounted fingerprint scanner, in the other side X50 Pro have under display fingerprint scanner. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have much more faster than under display fingerprint scanner. And about the sensors in the devices, X3 Pro have accelerometer, gyroscope, proximity and compass, whereas X50 Pro have accelerometer, proximity, gyroscope and compass. So I will call it a tie. Let's talk about the battery capacity of the devices. X3 Pro have 5160 mAh of battery capacity, whereas X50 Pro have 4200 mAh of battery capacity. So without a doubt, the winner here is X3 Pro because it have bigger battery capacity. Let's talk about the charging speed of the devices. X3 Pro have 33 watts of fast charging, whereas X50 Pro have 65 watts of fast charging. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have faster charging speed, which can charge up the device faster. Let's talk about the loudspeaker of the devices. X3 Pro comes with stereo speakers, whereas X50 Pro also have dual speakers. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it can produce immersive sound. And about the headphone jack of the devices, X3 Pro have 3.5mm of headphone jack, whereas X50 Pro did not have any. So the winner here is X3 Pro. Moving to the communication chips in the devices, starting with the WLAN of the devices. Both of the devices comes with Wi-Fi AC, dual band Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi direct and hotspot. So it's a tie. And about the Bluetooth version of the devices, X3 Pro have 5th generation of Bluetooth, whereas X50 Pro have 5.1 generation of Bluetooth. So the winner here is X50 Pro because it have newer generation of Bluetooth. Let's talk about the positioning chips in the devices. X3 Pro have AGPS, GLONASS, Galileo and BDS, whereas X50 Pro have AGPS, GLONASS, Galileo, BDS and some other chips. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have some other chips. And about the USB connectivity of the devices, X3 Pro comes with 2nd gen of Type-C connector with OTG support, whereas X50 Pro also have 2nd gen of Type-C connector. So the winner here is X3 Pro because it have OTG support. Moving to the prices of the devices. In the international market, starting range of X3 Pro is around $220, whereas X50 Pro is available from $500. In the Indian market, X3 Pro have starting range from 17,500 rupees and X50 Pro is available from 28,000 rupees. So the conclusion of the video is, in the camera the winner is X50 Pro, in the performance the winner is X50 Pro, in the display the winner is X50 Pro, in the body segment the winner is X50 Pro, in the features of the device the winner is X50 Pro, in the communication chips it's a tie, and about the prices the winner is X3 Pro. So the decision is totally yours. Which device you like the most so far, and let me know in the comment below what do you think, which device is better for you. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you like our content, please like our video, share this video and subscribe to our channel. Comment what's your thought in the comment below. If you're watching this video on Facebook, please like our page TechDad. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, here's my Instagram ID on the screen. This is Amit and I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, bye.